I want one of the pictures in my head that's going to be my Facebook profile picture, one that you're not using. Hello, I am known as King Champagne, but my birth name is William Chandler. From a young age, I was always into fashion, and that's where my fashion career took off. I got into pageantry, and a very good friend of mine by the name of Dean George, he's the one that actually took me to Elskoe and Associates, and that's where everything all started. I've been a pageant coach for a number of years, pageant coach / chaperone, and my first Miss US Virgin Islands was actually 1988. That was Heather Cardi out of St. Croix. I met Stephany and we clicked immediately. And the next thing you know, she was competing for Queen and I was her chaperone. She won the local pageant and we recently got back from Mexico City where she competed for the Miss Universe title and she did a remarkable job. She represented the Virgin Islands very, very well. My experience there was awesome. I didn't exactly prepare myself for work when I got there, but when I got there, I did get into some work as far as getting her ready for the preliminary competition. But the experience, all in all, I would do it all over again.
In April 2024, you were awarded the title Grand Marshall for the St. Thomas Carnival festivities. What were your thoughts and responsibilities?
Well, first off, I have to give kudos to the Division of Festivals. They were the one responsible for me becoming Grand Marshal. 25 years ago, I had the pleasures of being the Carnival Village honoree. It was called Champagne's Court. That was 1999. The Grand Marshal's duty is to open the parade. It's actually the Grand Marshal's parade. So I was caught a little off guard when I got the phone call asking me if I would be the Grand Marshal. I gladly accepted, and it was very overwhelming coming up the streets of Charlotte Amalie into the Post Office Square, where all of my well-wishers, family, and friends were there to cheer me on. It was awesome. Of course, when I got into the Post Office Square, I met with the governor, the lieutenant governor, members of his cabinet, and senators as well from our legislature.
How did you feel when the governor and lieutenant governor of the USVI offered a toast to you on Main Street at the start of the adults parade in front thousands of spectators?
Well, I asked myself, what are we going to do in the Post Office Square that's going to be different? Everyone that knows me knows I like to be different. I don't do anything like the norm. So of course, this jacket that I'm wearing played a great role that day. Everyone expected me to be in our local Virgin Islands Madras. I think it has been done once too much, so I decided to go different. And Naisha, who introduced me in the Post Office Square, Naisha Sebastian Wells, she's the one that, along with LeVar Van Beverhout, they got bottles of Veuve Clicquot for the grand toast in the Post Office Square. After all, I am called Champagne and no celebration is complete without me.
Tell us more on your colourful jacket and accompanying hat you wore.
My godson, whose name I will not mention, was my stylist because I had no idea what I was going to wear. And after it arrived in the mail, I went to the fabric store and I found this matching sequence fabric. And my cousin Yvonne Benjamin David, everyone knows her as Ras, she's the one that created my headdress for the occasion.
What inspires you to coach and chaperone young Virgin Islanders? Tell us more about your very own pageant organisations, which you manage.
Well, the fact that I'm a proud Virgin Islander and I have a passion for fashion and pageantry, that's what actually led me to coaching and chaperoning young ladies as well as princes, I actually have two of my own pageants. I own the Mr. US Virgin Islands pageant, and I own a full-figured pageant, which is Miss USVI Large and in Charge. I had the pleasures of being the Carnival Queen chairperson for 3 years under the Virgin Islands Carnival Committee. And it has been a very interesting experience. I had myself a wonderful time. The ladies were all very pleasant. So everything went over exceptionally well.
There are rumours circulating around the non-payment of money and prizes for recent pageants in the USVI.
I think if you're going to offer someone something, you should come through to the very end. If you should run into complications or anything of that sort, I feel communication is very important. What's even more so important, I could understand if someone that's over a pageant doesn't have sponsorship and they're unable to meet the things that were offered. But I feel if someone sponsors your pageant, there should be no hiccups. Everything should go over exceptionally well. I could actually say a lot more, but I'm going to keep it nice today.
Tell us more about your company assisting young Virgin Islanders, pageant delegates locally and abroad.
Not only in St. Thomas, I have worked with delegates out of town. I have worked with Paula Nelson, who's originally from St. Croix but lives in Texas. She won the International Elegance Crown in Chicago. And my Miss USVI Large and in Charge, Shar, she recently won that title as well in November of 2024. I would have to say that all of this, as far as my team and my company, that would be my modeling agency, Roses and Champagne, which I started at the age of 16. So what's even more so interesting is we're having an anniversary fashion show next year. More of that will come out very, very soon. I'm so looking forward to that. Lots of the alumni models are planning on coming back to prepare themselves for this fabulous fashion affair. What is very interesting is as much as I coach and chaperone, one year I was unable to assist any of the girls that was running for Carnival Queen, simply because two of my models were competing. One by the name of Lamone, that's actually Lamone Morris Rogers. She was the first runner-up, and Cherise Woods was the queen. They both modeled for Roses and Champagne.
You see the USVI government administration through the Division of Festivals sponsoring beauty delegates.
In all honesty, the Division of Festivals, they do a remarkable job as far as sponsoring the local queen when they send her off to whether it's JC's competition or Miss Culturama. They give her a check to prepare themselves, because they do send St. Croix and St. Thomas Queen as well. However, with the pageant being held in April and with her going to JC's, which is in August, I think it's a very short time for a girl to better prepare herself. And in addition to that, for years now, the Carnival Queen Show has been a high school pageant where most of the contestants were high school girls. I think they need to make a big change and make it an adult pageant. I think the girls need to be like from 20 years and up. Why? Because when these girls go down island to compete, they're competing against women. They're no longer competing against teenage girls that's in high school like themselves or just graduating. So I feel that they don't really stand a good chance because they're competing against women that are much more experienced.
What are the many countries you have visited in support of pageantry and assisting delegates from the USVI?
Wow, it's been quite a few. So I'll just give a few right now. I would say Trinidad and Tobago, because I've competed in Trinidad and Tobago before. I would definitely say Venezuela, Miami, the British Virgin Islands, New York, Italy, and those were actually my most favorite ones. Oh, and we can't forget California. When I was Mr. Virgin Islands in 1997, I competed for Mr. USA there, where I made top 10.
How do you see pageantry and modelling in the USVI in 10 years' time?
In 10 years' time, hopefully, the Virgin Islands government, and when I say government, I'm not just saying the governor. When I say government, I'm talking about the governor, the entire government agencies, our legislature. It would be very interesting with the Virgin Islands being a tourist destination if they would get a little bit more deeper into pageantry. I've been to the Miss Universe pageant live on 2 occasions, and I must say that governors or mayors of different countries are always at these pageants supporting their girls. 2026, the pageant is going to be in Miami, the Miss Universe pageant. I feel it would be great if not the government, whomever has the franchise for Miss US Virgin Islands, to consider chartering a flight where locals can pay some sort of money, not too pricey. Make it a package deal where if we can get a plane load of Virgin Islanders to attend this pageant and cheer on our very own queen, because I've seen it done in several other countries, and support is ultra important.
After being crowned after winning, tell us what it's like for the entire 1-year reign.
After being crowned, their entire life changes, because now you are queen and you are someone that young ladies, young men, Virgin Islanders and families look up to. So you have to set an example. You have to carry yourself in a manner that is ultra respectable. And at that point, most of the queens usually visit schools and have seminars or speak to young ladies in schools. They make guest appearances here, there, and everywhere. They do lots of public interviews, radio, television. So usually their year of their reign, it's like a full-time job. Every time they leave their house, they're on stage. And their life continues to be like that. Because after your reign, you were and still is a queen. Once a queen, always a queen. So you have to carry yourself in that manner. And I have to say that our Miss Universe US Virgin Islands, she is awesome. She's always well dressed, well put together. And luckily for us, she is a makeup artist. So at the local and international pageant, she did her own makeup and her own hair. So that's why you see every time you saw her, she gave you a different look. I thought that was very impressive.
Being in Mexico at the recent Miss Universe 2024 pageant, what are your thoughts and behind-the-scenes happenings?
Unfortunately, the pageant director was unable to make it to Mexico. I think Stephany did an awesome job with what little funding she had to prepare herself. It was a whole lot. There's a lot that happens behind the scenes that no one knows of. The day of the preliminaries, I got a phone call telling me that the feathered portions of her costume would be delivered to me. Then I got another phone call telling me that I have to come and pick up the costume. I had to clear it from FedEx. I drove an hour and a half, got there about 2:30, and never left there until about 5:30 and had to drive straight to the arena. And they brought Stephany to me and we were able to mount her up in her costume. I feel things should be done a lot differently. I think that costume needed to be there either before her or with her, so there'll be no hiccups. In that respect, I feel whenever a girl is crowned queen, whether it's Miss Universe US Virgin Islands Carnival Queen, Miss St. Croix, Miss St. John, any of the pageants where the queen is going away, I think the organization needs to work on a team to work with this girl as far as costume, wardrobe, so she can be much better prepared for the challenges she's going to face when she travels.
What are some words of encouragement for a young person to enter a beauty competition?
I personally feel a lot of young people don't get the support that they need. As far as women, I feel their family and friends should always compliment them and let them know that they're beautiful and they can do this or they can do that. I feel family members or parents should encourage these young ladies to consider getting into modeling, getting into theater, getting into dance classes or something of the sort, because there's a lot of beautiful girls that compete. And unfortunately, some of them are not very eloquent or articulate, and a lot of them don't have a talent. And we need to realize that a face doesn't give you the crown. You need to come with the entire package. So I would tell these young ladies, if it is something you want, work for it. Because if you believe it, you can definitely achieve it.
It costs a lot of money to participate in pageantry in the USVI. Can the government assist a contestant? Also, how can corporates, sponsors, designers get on board and assist for their mutual benefit?
The government cannot sponsor a contestant. The government can only sponsor a queen that is representing our territory. Pageantry is ridiculously expensive. My contestant, Miss Universe US Virgin Islands, her evening gown for the local show is $6,000+. It depends on who's your designer, it depends on where you're shopping, and everybody wants a designer. It's no longer like years ago when you could have gone to a boutique and picked up a dress. There's so much online shopping right now, but with online shopping you have to be very careful because you don't want to show up to the competition and somebody else or two other young ladies are wearing the same dress that you're wearing in a different color, or in fact the same color. So it's really nice when you have a designer that knows your personality and when you have a coach that can guide the designer in what your delegate should wear. A lot of teams, parents, they end up having food sale, cake sales, raffles, different fundraising events to help them defray costs and expenses. Like I said before, pageantry is very, very expensive. And evening gown and costume are the most expensive out of the entire package. So it would be nice. I mean, a lot of local businesses have sponsored and has continued to sponsor young women. I feel all businesses should as well. I know in the past, using Puerto Rico as an example, Puerto Rico would have all of their designers do pieces for their queen to go to Miss Universe pageant, and those would be pieces that they would actually donate to the delegate. So I think that's a very, very good thing, a very good deed for them to do. And it also advertises them, it gives them publicity, because she then lets them know, I'm wearing a designer piece from whether it's Valentino, Carlos Alberto, Ahmad Fashions. I mean, it goes on and on and on. So I would like it if one of you all approaches any local business, if they'd be nice enough to give her something. I'm not saying give her $1,000 if you can't afford it, but every little bit helps. I'm having a wonderful time in this interview, so I want to encourage everyone to visit the USVIcarnivals.com. I want you to follow them. I want you to leave comments with them. They're awesome. They're absolutely outstanding. Please give them that click in. Thank you so very much. I hope you enjoyed me as much as I've enjoyed you. With St. Thomas and the entire U.S. Virgin Islands being a carnival hotspot, whether it's St. Thomas Carnival, St. Croix, the Crucian Christmas Fiesta, or the St. John Festival, I'd like to welcome everyone to the United States Virgin Islands from all parts of the world. Simply because St. Thomas is you, St. Thomas is me, St. Thomas is all of we. Thank you.